Hey everybody, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. This is kind of part two of the video I made yesterday about how it came to be that John Clayton is on my new album. If you haven't seen that one, go back and watch it. But today I want to talk about moments that you're presented with in your life that have to do with music and how you might be able to seize those moments or grab a hold of something that's in motion and ride it out. I want to let you know that I think that everybody inside of them has like a little, call it what you will, like a little Jiminy Cricket, like a conscience or a light or um, something that's rooting for you, something that wants you to succeed. And I think that whenever you get an idea that you feel like might be a good one or it lights a little fire under you, I want you to be able to go for it or have the confidence to know that that idea might lead to something amazing. It's happened to me a lot of times. The first time, I actually already made a video about. It's when I told a huge lie, and I ended up backstage sitting down having a chat with Diana Krall. That all came from telling a big lie. I don't really advocate telling a big lie, but sometimes do what it takes, huh? You gotta be a hustler. I moved to New York City with John back in 1999. It was right after we both graduated from college, and he was going to apply to Teach for America. He wanted a couple years of real life experience before he went to law school. And we got to choose anywhere in the country that we'd like to live, and we put New York City right at the top of the list because I was right out of jazz school, and boy, if I could be in New York City, I was going to be there. So we did it, and we didn't have any money. We were living on $30,000 a year, starting teacher's salary, living up in Washington Heights. And it was a crazy time. I had a brand new baby. I was a young mama with a little baby Miles. And I remember putting away things from boxes because we had just moved. And I was listening to the radio. There was a jazz radio station. And what I heard was Milt Jackson has passed away. And I got really sad. And so as I'm sitting there thinking about that, the next thing that registered from the radio was his funeral will be held this, I don't know, Thursday, Friday or something at Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem. And I went, I wonder if I could go. So anyway, I just figured out where that was. I strapped my baby onto my chest, one of those little packs, and we rode a subway and two different buses to get to Abyssinian Baptist Church that morning. I didn't know if I was going to be able to be let in, didn't know if it was appropriate for me to be in there. I didn't know Mr. Jackson. I only had a strong connection to his music. But I just walked in, and everybody was just walking in. In fact, Peter Jennings passed me as I walked in. When I sat down in a pew in the church, it was a beautiful room, there was a sweet man behind me that was making faces at my baby, and I turned around. It was Max Roach. And luckily, Miles fell asleep, and I was able to just sit and take that funeral in and listen to all of Milt Jackson's friends pay tribute to him. I heard Tommy Flanagan play a beautiful piano solo. It was just a moment that I got to be a part of because I decided to just go for it. Now, there's another moment I remember with my baby as well. I heard that they were having, I heard that the new school down in the village, Buster Williams was going to give a clinic or a master class. And I thought, again, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to go to this, but I figured I'd give it a shot. So this time I put Miles in a stroller, and I think I kept him up all morning. You know, I didn't let him have his nap. And when we got down there, my idea was that hopefully he'd be asleep when I rolled him into this clinic. We'd stand in the back of the room, maybe go unnoticed, and I'd just get to hear Buster Williams talk about, whatever he was going to talk about that day. So I did it. He came in right before, 4 o'clock or whatever time it was. And as he was setting up, the first thing he did was lock eyes with me and said, who's the one here with a baby? And I said, hi, Mr. Williams. I was just hoping that I could hear your clinic. If he makes any noise, I'll be right out of here. And he goes, nah, we can't have a baby in here. You got to get out of here. My eyes kind of filled up with tears, and I went on my way. So that time didn't work out. Another time that it didn't work out was actually that very same time a year previously when I got to sit with Diana Krall. that when I was busy telling my great big lie, John had a plan. He and I sang in the same vocal jazz group, so we were there as a part of this vocal jazz group for the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival. His plan was that he knew Joshua Redman was going to be at this same festival, and he knew also that Joshua Redman had just finished law school, and he knew that he was going to law school, and so he thought that we were like meant to be best friends with Joshua Redman because we had the music connection and the law connection, and his idea was to find him and invite him to dinner that night with the two of us. Anyway, John found Joshua Redman coming out of a rehearsal, and he stopped him and he said, whatever, Mr. Redman, would you like to go to dinner with my wife and I tonight? And Joshua Redman was very gracious, but he declined. So that one didn't work out either. But man, John went for it. He's my hero. Next thing I did in New York City. There were phone books back then. You could just open up the Manhattan phone book and, call anybody you wanted to. And so I decided that I might look up jazz players that I thought lived in Manhattan and maybe weren't quite famous enough that they took their names out of the phone book yet. And I landed on two of them. One of them was Jackie Terrison. The other was Eric Reid. So what I did was I saved up my money till I had $100. And I got courage and I called Jackie Terrison. And I said, "Hi, Mr. Terrison, you don't know me, and I feel bad about calling you like this. I got your number from the phone book, and I'm just a big fan, and I'm wondering if I could take a lesson from you. I've saved up $100. And it was funny because he and Eric Reid both said the same thing to me. "I don't really teach lessons right now. I don't really know what I'd teach you." And I said, "That's okay. I've got a page of questions written for you already." And so he agreed. So I went to his West End apartment. It's consequently my favorite neighborhood in all of Manhattan, the Upper West Side on West End Avenue. Gorgeous. He had just gotten a new piano, and he told me how they had to take off the window and crane it in there. And then we had a great lesson. And then that night he played at the Village Vanguard with Stefan Harris, and he asked if John and I could come as his guests. And we sat right up front and listened to Stefan Harris and Jackie Terrison play a concert. That was amazing. I got to take a lesson from Jackie Terrison. I have notes on the lesson. It was amazing. Same thing with Eric Reid. I went to his apartment in Harlem. What I learned about Eric Reid that day was that he knows every recording ever made, and he can cite it. And if you have a question about anything, he'll be like, "You need to listen to this album, you need to listen to this track, and you need to listen to it 100 times. And he had, such an extensive collection of vinyl and CDs. And he was also going to teach a drum lesson that day. I remember there was a girl that came, and he was going to teach her a drum lesson. And I remember that they were going to work on listening to Nuke's Time, where Philly Joe Jones and Sonny Rollins play together as a duet on Surrey with a Fringe on Top. So I went home and I wore out that record because it was important enough to Eric Reid to teach that drummer a full lesson just on what they did on that one track. Beautiful. Sometimes you just get a little idea, and it might seem like a crazy idea, to actually call Eric Reid right out of the phone book and ask for a lesson. What's the worst that could have happened, right? He could have just said, "How dare you call me at my home phone," and hung up. That's it. It was worth it. It also reminds me of just sometimes being brave enough to raise your hand. If you're in school, sometimes these people come to teach clinics, these amazing people, these amazing musicians, and sometimes they ask for volunteers. I don't know if you've ever been the kid who doesn't volunteer and watches his friend go up and get all the great experience and advice, personal advice, and you weren't the one to raise your hand. It happened to me. I decided it wasn't going to ever happen to me again, so whenever I had the chance, I was the one to raise my hand, and I did get some great experience. In high school, even, Bobby McFerrin came to give a clinic just to my choir, my jazz choir, and he taught us how to sing a circle song. And at the end, after he taught it, while he was teaching it, I was thinking to myself, I'll bet this is the kind of thing that I could do if I had some practice. And then he said, "Would any of you like to lead a circle song?" And I shot my hand up because I kind of figured that I could. And so Bobby McFerrin watched me lead my whole choir in a circle song and was able to give me specific advice about that. And I know he doesn't remember it because he's done that with hundreds of people, but I remember it, and it was huge for me that day. So that's another bit of advice for you. If you can raise your hand, have the courage, do it. You're not going to regret it. You're going to get an experience. It's going to be something that you can hold on to for the rest of your life. My grandma used to say to me, anytime you have the opportunity to give a compliment to somebody, do it. She said, if you think it and it's nice, say it. And I think it's the same kind of thing. Anytime you get an idea, like something in your gut, your little Jiminy Cricket that's telling you, you could do this right now, Aimee. I mean, as long as no real harm could come from it, why not just jump at that chance? Why not just say, all right, let's do it? Especially in our world of jazz music, where our heroes aren't completely out of reach. I mean, if my hero was like Kanye, like that's never going to happen, right? I'm never going to have an opportunity to be in a room with him where I can raise my hand and he calls me up and gives me advice. Like, so rare, right? But it can happen in our world. It's what makes it so exciting. It's so cool. I don't know. I think it's a great place to be. And even if you're frustrated or whatever in your own little realm of practice right now, practice rooms and metronomes and scales, and just keep that idea in your back pocket that if something presents itself, you jump at it. It's what happened again in New York when I went to visit New York and see Jacob Collier play. I mean, it was his one-man show, and he was pretty huge, but he hadn't completely blown up yet to the point where he took questions after the concert, and I was able to, hang around long enough at that concert to ask him for a tiny duet, and he said yes. That was huge for me. One of the happiest experiences of my life, and to have it documented and on my YouTube channel, a duet with Jacob Collier, that's amazing. So even now, after I'm 40 years old or whatever the heck I am, taking little chances like that, saying maybe I can email John Clayton, maybe he'll play on just one track of my album. It might not have been in the stars. This time it was. And I'm forever grateful to him for saying yes to doing that and to making music with me. And I'm grateful for all the experiences I've had that have made me who I am. I don't know what other experiences might come my way. It's a cool ride, It's a journey. You just do your best, do what you can do. Sit in your in-laws' yard and make a video about whatever's on your mind. The moments will come, and I think you'll be ready when they do. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, go for it anyway. I'll bet you are. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you next time on Aimee Nolte Music.